Failure is one of the few experiences that everyone encounters, yet almost everyone misunderstands. We talk about failure as if it is something to be avoided, delayed, softened, or reframed only after the damage has been done. In many professional environments, particularly in academia, failure is treated as a personal flaw rather than a structural necessity. But elite sport tells a very different story. In high-performance environments, failure is not a surprise, it is not a weakness, it is not even a setback. It is designed into the system. Today on A4 Digest, I want to explore why failing faster does not make you careless or reckless, but stronger, and why the distance between how athletes and scholars experience failure explains so much about burnout, stagnation, or unrealized potential. So in sport, failure is immediate. You miss the shot, you mistime the movement, you lose the race. The feedback arrives instantly before the ego has time to build a narrative around it. Because the signal is clear and early. The response is practical rather than emotional. If something didn't work, then adjust and try again. In academia, failure is delayed. Ideas are developed in isolation. Work is refined quietly. Months or years pass. Then judgment arrives, often abruptly and impersonally. By the time failure appears, it carries enormous psychological weight. It does not feel like information. It feels like identity. This difference in timing changes everything. Neuroscience gives us a useful lens here. Learning systems, whether biological or artificial, adapt most effectively when error signals are frequent, early, and low cost. When feedback arrives quickly, the brain treats it as part of the learning process. When it arrives late, the brain treats it as a threat. Athletes live inside fast error loops. They are constantly adjusting, recalibrating, and refining based on small failures that cost very little. Over time, failure becomes ordinary, expected, almost boring. Academics, by contrast, often experience failure as rare and consequential. The loop is slow, the stakes are high, and the emotional fallout is disproportionate. This is not because scholars are fragile, it is because the system is poorly designed. Elite athletes do not aim to avoid failure, they aim to control its scale. Training is structured to create manageable breakdowns. Muscles are stressed just enough to trigger adaptation. Techniques are pushed until they wobble, but not until they collapse. Mistakes are rehearsed so that recovery becomes automatic. Failure then is not random, it is curated. This is why athletes become resilient. They do not fear failure. Why? Because they have practiced it repeatedly while under supervision and in environments designed to absorb the cost. Academia rarely offers this kind of luxury. Early career scholars are often exposed to high-stakes judgment with little preparation of failure. A rejected grant can determine the direction of an entire career. A critical peer review can linger for years. A single misstep can feel irreversible. The system assumes resilience without training it. And when people struggle, the problem is framed as individual weakness rather than structural design. Another lesson from sport is recovery. Failure is never isolated from recovery. Training stress is paired deliberately with rest. Coaches understand that adaptation does not occur during exertion, but during recovery. Without recovery, stress accumulates, tissues break down, and injuries can follow. Academia often ignores this principle entirely. Periods of intense cognitive load are stacked without pause. Deadlines overlap. Expectations compound. Recovery is treated as optional or indulgent, yet the brain obeys the same biological rules as the body. Without recovery, failure does not strengthen, it erodes. And so there is also a cultural difference worth noticing. In elite sport, failure is depersonalized. A missed attempt is rarely interpreted as a reflection of character. It is framed as a moment within a process. In academia, failure is frequently internalized. A rejected paper becomes evidence of inadequacy. A slow progression becomes self-doubt. The line between work and worth blurs. This is not because academia are less capable of resilience. It is because failure is not normalized early enough, often enough, or even safely enough. Failing faster does not mean failing recklessly. It means designing environments where ideas can be tested early, feedback can be absorbed quickly, and correction can occur before identity becomes entangled with outcome. It means shifting from delayed judgment to continuous learning. It means replacing fear-based evaluation with curiosity-based iteration. Athletes do not train to be perfect. They train to be adaptable. There is a deeper implication here. Systems that avoid failure become brittle. Systems that rehearse failure become robust. Avoidance creates fragility. Exposure creates strength. This is as true for muscles as it is for our minds. If academia wants thinkers who are creative, courageous, and resilient, it must learn from sport. 1. It must shorten feedback loops. 2. Lower the cost of early failure. 3. Normalize correction. And 4. Design recovery deliberately. Failing faster is not about doing more things wrong. It is about learning sooner what does not work, where there is still time, energy, and confidence to adjust. Adapting is therefore key. And so failure is not the opposite of success. It is the mechanism by which success becomes possible. Elite athletes understand this intuitively. It is time that scholars did too. Until next time.